Our children are priceless, and we would do anything to protect them. So why aren't you using Go Free to protect them from the most harmful ideas? Decades in the making, Go Free is a simple yet brilliant practice designed to free us from destructive socio-political ideas. As words are the tools with which we think, Go Free promotes precise, simple, and targeted language to counteract psychological warfare. When you go free of the system's control over your word choice, you liberate your thinking. As you grow, you can empower others. And the most important thing you can do is inoculate our children against the ideas that are meant to harm them.
Are you noticing changes in our country you find troubling? Do you feel unsafe and at a loss to remedy these fundamental shifts? Have you found the book Go Free by Jason Kuna? The Go Free method provides excellent meme curatives and specific language skills to overcome the anti-white psychological warfare being waged against us across the West. Go Free, a guide to aligning with the archetype of Western kind by Jason Kuna, available on Amazon.
Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Shade Tree White Wellbeing NWG space. We hold this space every day at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on X. We are a no white guilt community that meets to practice the concepts and lexicon developed by Jason Kenner, Mr. No White Guilt himself. You can find him here on X as No White Guilt NWG. That's No White Guilt NWG. On YouTube and elsewhere as simply No White Guilt, and on the web at nowhiteguilt.org. We discuss a wide variety of topics of interest to white people and look for ways to apply solutions. I'm Hans, your host. We run pretty casual here, but I do ask that you raise your hand if you would like to jump in. Otherwise, I will call on speakers in turn for their thoughts. If you would like to hop into the conversation, just request a mic and we'll get you set up. We only ask that you comport yourself as much as possible to the Go Free lexicon and dialectic and act like a proper lady or gentleman of the West as applicable. Let's go. Fire Spirit, what's news?
Oh, we're still having our heat wave here in California. It's supposed to be 102 here today. So just watered down the garden, came in and am enjoying the wonderful invention of the white man called air conditioning. It's lovely.
Nice one. Julia.
Oh boy, that sounds terrible. I would be dying without air conditioning and that kind of heat. It just got very cold here. It was oh, I'm bad at converting. It was like 29 degrees Celsius, so like in the 80s, I think. somewhere in the 80s. um, Recently, like 2 days ago, and then yeah, it dropped literally half. So it was 29, and then it dropped to like 14 Celsius, which is like 60s, low 60s. Anyway, um, so a bit nippy when the wind blows. I saw the corset maker again, and uh, after talking to some German friends, I'm told that many more interactions are required before a friendship. And I should know this by now. It is very difficult to make friends with German people. Like they have takes a long time. They have a very like specific process. But so many of my friends here are like family friends that I've known since I was a child. So it's like I kind of got grandfathered in. Um, they're more like family, but yeah, I'm very excited about my new corset. She fixed my old corset. It looks great. She laced me up real tight, which meant I was able to walk around and do a lot of heavy lifting and felt really great. And I'm really excited for my new corset. I found like the perfect fabric. None of the fabric stores had the right fabric, but I thought of looking at sheets, and I found some sheets on sale that are the perfect fabric, like perfect color, perfect type of fabric, uh, for like plus like 20 something euros. Amazing. And she only needs like one pillowcase to make this corset, so that's lovely. So it's been a good day.
I mean, yeah, um, I'm really glad you could sort that out. I know of some people in my family and also at work who have back problems, and that is something that is, there's no good solution really. Welcome, triple, triple A. Okay. So today I put a link to a BitChute video in the Jumbotron. I recommend supporting that channel. Um, he has a lot of good stuff. It's one of the people who also do material for School of the West.world. And today I'm going to talk about one of the videos that he did about a hero of mine, Jan Sobieski, Polish king. I did some extra research, and let me tell you, if when we recapture our destiny, there's so much material there. In that, because it's in the aftermath of the 30 Years' War, and there's so many intrigues. It's like a fractal explosion if you start to drill into who did what. It's almost hard to find a good person. But Jan Sobieski is definitely one of them. But so much backstabbing amongst white leaders. If you ever wonder where did anti-whiteism come from, just look into the 30 Years' War and the aftermath. It is a cesspit of warfare, of killings, of selling out your people to non-whites, some of which we will discuss today. So yes, the background of this is that in 1362, the Ottoman Turks started capturing the Eastern Roman Empire, and they started by capturing Adrianople in 1362. In 1389, oh sorry, 139, yes, 1389, they defeated the Serbians at the Battle of Kosovo. 1396, Bulgaria fell. In 1453, they besieged Constantinople and took the city with the help of white people who sold them the cannons that they needed to destroy the walls. In 1463, they took Bosnia. In 1482, Herzegovina, and in 1499, Montenegro. Then what happened in 1526? They defeated the Hungarian army. Suleiman the Magnificent, the king of Hungary, died in the battle. In 1529, October of 1529, they besieged Vienna. But by the grace of God, early snow forced Suleiman to retreat, and the Ottomans did not return for the next 100 years. What then happened in Europe? Europe was divided. The 30 Years' War happened. It ended in 1648. None of the participants was really happy about the outcome. And one of them was a real character, a real piece of work, King Louis XIV, King of France. He was unhappy because he felt that France got a raw deal, and he conspired, colluded, and convinced the Ottomans under Sultan Mehmed IV that he would do nothing if they attack Vienna. So his plan was, if the Ottomans destroy Austria, then the Germans would be forced to appeal to France, and he would then, as champion of the cross, restore to France the imperial crown of Charlemagne. And this is incredibly, I couldn't believe it when I read this. The King of France, as a direct result of his interference, 60,000 white women and children were enslaved. And this is, if we could go back in time, we should execute him, revive him, and do it 50 times over. But anyway, so he got the Ottoman general that came was Kara Mustafa Pasha, and he came with anything between 170,000 and 250,000 troops, and he besieged Vienna. Vienna had a garrison of 10 to 15,000 soldiers. So they, on 14th of July 1683, they arrived at Vienna, and they made their customary threat. They said it's surrender or death. But unfortunately for them, the news traveled from a nearby town in the south, I'm going to try and pronounce it, Perstolsdorf. What happened there was the Turks gave them the same ultimatum. They handed the keys to the city. The Turks disarmed the men, marched them into the plain, the center of the city, and then they massacred everyone. They took their weapons, massacred them, enslaved the women and children. So when they came to Vienna, of course, the news traveled to Vienna, so there was no surrender. And of course, in the anti-white narrative, the reason why they do this is because it's their faith. But this is incorrect. The Muslim faith is just an expression of the Arab biospirit. So it's the other way around. If they were Christians, they would do the same thing, because that's their biospirit. Honor. We shouldn't ever use the word honor in relation to Muslim practices, because they have a completely different concept of that. And honor killing is not what we would recognize as honor. Honor, fundamentally, honesty is a necessary component of honor. This is what it means if you say, my word is my honor. It means what you say is what you mean, and what you commit to. So we have a totally different, we shouldn't ever use the word honor in relation to Muslims. They have a totally, or Arabs, they have a totally different concept of that. Anyway, that was a tangent. I didn't intend to go down. Okay, so they besieged the city. This is now, Austria was under the control of the Habsburgs. This was one of Louis' points. Louis, the King of France, is that this was a hated dynasty. No one will come to help them. But Jan Sobieski, the King of Poland, he recognized this as an existential threat for the white race, because if they take Austria with the help of France, and then there's no stopping them. The reason why they came back, that's another thing about them. 100 years ago, they were there, and according in their little anti-white minds, it's now their territory because they set foot on it. So it's 100 years later, they're coming back and they're conquering it. And there's just the King of France doesn't understand how they think, because he doesn't understand the concept of a biospirit. Those Ottomans are not going to stop with Austria. They're going to continue on and exploit the division until the whole Europe is laid waste and enslaved. And Sobieski recognized this. So he scrambled to put together a coalition together with Charles V, Duke of Lorraine. They assembled 80,000 Poles, Bavarians, Saxons, Cossacks, and Germans. And they marched to relieve the siege. But the Viennese, they did, because when they heard the Ottomans are on the way, they demolished the houses around the city walls and cleared the debris, so that there's an empty plain where they can use defensive fire to repel the Turks. But supplies were cut off in the city, and von Starrenberg, he was the commander of the militia or the garrison, and it was they were so fatigued because the siege was 2 months in before the relief force arrived. That von Starrenberg ordered soldiers that were asleep on watch to be executed, because they were so fatigued from 2 months and not a lot of food, because the food were cut off. So they were on minimum rations, and they had to keep watch. So on the 6th of September, the relief force arrived, and they signaled on the Kollenberg. They signaled the arrival with bonfires to the city. So the city sent a man, his name was Jerzy Franciszek Kulczycki, a Polish nobleman, diplomat, and trader who was fluent in Turkish. Sent him on a spy mission to go through the Turkish encampment um, and notify the relief troops of the plan, because they needed to coordinate a joint attack. So Kulziki went through the Turkish camp. He met um, he met Charles V, commander of the forces of the Holy Roman Empire under Sobieski, and informed them that Turkish sappers were digging tunnels and mining the walls. And he also passed the Ottoman order of battle and layout of the Turkish camp to Sobieski. He went back through the camp to the city of Vienna to carry back information to von Starrenberg. So the next day, Sobieski deployed on the ridge line, and there was so they had 80,000 troops, but 18,000 of them were horsemen. And the battle went back and forth through the day, and then at some point, Sobieski lined up the cavalry. And remember, this was cavalry is a tricky thing to get right. And he had many cavalry from different units that had to work together. He had his own 3,000 heavy lancers, which I called the winged hussars, and then 15,000 other cavalry. So what he did first was he wanted to test the defenses of Mustafa Pasha. So he sent 140 of his hussars to charge the defenses. And the charge was successful, although with heavy casualties, because this was 140 horsemen, is a relatively small unit. And so they took heavy casualties, but Sobieski saw what he needed to see, and he committed the whole cavalry force to the charge. Now, what's interesting is Mustafa thought, because he didn't fortify his forces, he was still intent on capturing the city, so he wasn't concerned about this 18,000 cavalry, because he had about 100,000 troops on the other side. But then Sobieski led the largest cavalry charge in history at the head of his 3,000 winged hussars and the other 15,000 horsemen. And the charge was devastating to the to the Ottomans. And when Mustafa saw that the battle was lost, he ordered the execution of 1,000 prisoners, and escaped with part of his force. And then this was the last time that the Ottomans, the Turks, were a threat to Europe, because then they rolled them up. The Habsburgs took back Hungary, and basically over the next few decades, they expelled them out of the whole of Eastern Europe. Now, this Mustafa character, he went back to Belgrade, where he was executed by the Sultan's emissaries, and his head was sent to Constantinople. Now, Sobieski, he to reward Kulziki, he gave him the choice to choose the plunder from all the treasures that they seized. So Kulziki, he knew about he chose hundreds of bags of beans, and Jan thought it was food for horses, these bags of beans. But Kulziki, he was in Constantinople, and he knew about coffee. And because the Turkish guards used coffee to stay awake. So he got all the coffee, and he learned the art of roasting coffee beans in Constantinople. And this was the start of the coffee house culture of Vienna. Now, I want to just go back to the first thing I want to say is Sobieski understood that these people were of a different biospirit. He understood that they are not like white people. They are not. This is a threat to the existence of his people, and this is why we need to set aside our internal squabbles and mount a unified defense against this threat. Um, but I mean, this is it's just so. I don't know how they thought in those times that they um, couldn't see the threat. I mean, um, the way they acted, the way people react to victories, the way soldiers react to victories, tell them who they are, um, because the fact that they massacred, and this was a common thing where they would go back on their word, they would not hold to treaties, um, basically do what they want if they have the power. But Louis the 14th of France, he also influenced our history here in South Africa, because he was the guy who revoked um, freedom of religion. He revoked the Edict of Nantes, which caused the French Huguenots to flee to South Africa, some of them. And this was another interesting thing, because um, these French surnames are quite well known in our culture and history, because they were quite prolific when they came here. Within 2 generations, they assimilated. They no longer spoke French, which just shows you when you are biospiritually compatible, there's no problem with assimilation um, with the host culture. They became South African, or they became Afrikaner. And I mean, um, surnames like Duplessis, De Villiers, De Toy, these are all French surnames. And this is that MMA, the ex MMA champion, Dricus Du Plessis, that's a Huguenot surname. Um, so, so the King of France was a real, he was a real piece of work. Um, and we don't need those kind of leaders. They will, for their own personal aggrandizement, will just, I mean, if he had his way, who knows what kind of damage it would have caused to Western civilization. Just that, even though they defeated the Turks, it was that's small operation. It was 60,000 white people, white women and children who were enslaved, and then we're not even talking about everyone who was killed because of a decision that he made to for the glory of France. It is yes. So if you wondered about anti-whiteism, yes, we have plenty of that in our history, and it didn't come from non-whites. There was plenty of anti-whiteism. I mean, the Turks were an anti-white force, but we invited them, or not we, white people invited them to come and invade white countries. And it sort of goes back to um, that space we had, where it came out that in the Second World War, Germany shared nuclear secrets of nuclear material with Japan. Um, and in the hope that maybe Japan would be able to make a nuclear bomb to use against white people. This is the kind of thing that happens if you don't have a people. If you don't um, if you don't realize that we are all the same people. So this was Jan Sobieski, but this history around the 30 Years' War, it is so chaotic and um, so so much conflict between what's essentially the same people speaking different languages, and so much death and destruction. Um, we should have never allowed another, because the because of the division between the Eastern Roman Empire, which was Greek Orthodox, and the Holy Roman Empire, which was Catholic and Protestant. No one helped the Eastern European nations, um, Serbia, Bulgaria, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Montenegro. No one helped them because um, they were Eastern Orthodox, but they were our people, and they let them be invaded. This kind of thing, it just it we can't wind back time, but it's very sad to think about all the death and destruction and heartbreak and destroyed lives, because we were not the people, and we're still not the people. Um, yes, that was Jan Sobieski. Um, he led the largest cavalry charge, and of course there won't ever be a larger cavalry charge because the musket made the horse, the cavalry horseman, obsolete. So I think that's part of why that was the last and the biggest cavalry charge, because pretty soon after that, the cavalry was. I mean, this it was still used a lot. I mean, even in the Second World War, there was still cavalry, but the role was much reduced. It used to be a central part of tactics and strategy, but the musket and the cannon changed that whole dynamic. Okay, that was it for Jan Sobieski. Um, I can just imagine how how the Turks felt when the earth started to shake from 18,000 horsemen. And if Jason talked about, if you wanted to, if there was one time that you would want to go back to, and he said maybe the Battle of Thermopylae. This is one thing that I would have liked to see, and I think I mean it's not a surprise why Hollywood is not making a lot of movies about that, because the bad guys in the story are non-white, so they're not going to touch this. By spirit.
Um, yeah, so that's one of my favorite stories, is that particular recapture of Vienna, and pushing the non-whites out of Europe, and that pretty much is why we are who we are today. If they had continued invading Europe, and the French had leader had his way, we would not be who we are today. So that was a great moment in history, and we can see some similarities to what is happening now in Europe, where the non-whites have been invited into our Western countries and are systematically white erasing our countries of the West. Interestingly enough, Poland is one of the countries that is resisting this white erasure. And so who knows, maybe there'll be another King Sobieski who will come out of Poland to rescue Europe. We shall see. And I'm not sure what else I wanted to say about that, other than it was so so similar to what we're experiencing now with the rampant border hopping and invasion that's going on all across the West, the West. And the king of France back then showed so clearly what radical individualism can do to our people and the destruction that it can wreak on us. That is what we need to get rid of, and as Hans was saying, come together as a people and defend one another in this time that we're going through, because if we don't, it's going to be lights out for Western civilization. I think more and more of our people are seeing this, and hopefully they will come our way and see that the Go Free method is the method to get us back to where we need to be.
Julia,
So I was just thinking about how back then most people would have been born in a village and probably never have gone further than the nearest big town, and probably couldn't read and didn't really know what was going on in the world. And of course, there were many different languages and dialects. So I can kind of understand.
I think Julia has some connection issue.
We have this fighting. Ah.
I'm hearing something.
Yeah, give me a second. I gotta leave.
Okay. Yes, I mean, the Blue Flame. Blue Flame, your hand is up. Oopsie. Okay, it seems. Can anyone hear me? Just a quick thumbs up. Okay, great. Blue Flame, if your hand seems okay. Go.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Yeah, if you said something sooner, then that I might have missed. But anyways, yeah, just hear the tail end of what you were saying about Jan Sobieski and the Siege of Vienna and all of that, and it might be a war. Well, uh, it's a typical thing that a lot of people do, is to bring up like this siege or that battle or what have you, and that is fine. But I'd always like to, you know, it's always worthwhile to remind ourselves that this was a conflict that spread over the almost the entirety of Eastern Europe, and there have been. I guess what I just wanted to bring up is that there is an artist called Vasil Goranov, I think is how you pronounce his name, and I'll share one of his works in the chat. Um, is Vasil Goranov? He's like a painter, I suppose, and he made some artworks in regards to the conflicts in Bulgaria against the Ottomans. So that might be of interest to some people, and he's yeah, really skillful man at his art. Um, and it yeah, maybe maybe for entertainment's sake, I also am aware of a Polish movie. What is the I think in Polish it's like Ogniem i Mieszem. Uh, I might have butchered that, but if you translate, it's the title means by fire and steel, or by fire and sword. And it's yeah, it's just an entertaining movie, and in the background you have yeah, the background is basically also this conflict, and it addresses a few of these historical figures. Um, for those who want to know a little bit more about, I suppose, the time period. Of course, it's a movie. You know, it's not a historical document, not naturally. But if you want like a, let's say, a very light introduction. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It might be fun for some people.
It was interesting that the battle where Serbia lost their country was in Kosovo, and the battle where they regained it was again in Kosovo. And you could understand why the Serbians felt so strongly about not giving away the Kosovo province to these non-white Muslims, because this was a historic. It was part of their history. There were historic battles fought there, and then because of uncontrolled mass immigration, so this is sort of a mini a, a prototype white erasure operation that happened there, and that's now happening in the entire Europe. And isn't it just tragic that US bombers bombed Belgrade to force the Serbians to give away that province? White people bombed them into oblivion and then put their leader on trial for war crimes, um, so that non-whites can take their country. And there's another thing. There was this terrorist, this non-white Muslim terrorist that was running sorties into Serbia, to goad them into attacking. And then at some point, the Serbians, because there was a UN um, uh, proscription against going into the Kosovo territory. So this Muslim terrorist went over the border and goaded the Serbians into a counterattack, and this gave them the justification to bomb them. Um, and that after the whole thing, no one tried to track that guy down. They tracked all the people on the Serbian side down that they wanted to put on trial for war crimes, but that Albanian terrorist, they just forgot about him. Um, yeah, so because I know someone, a co-worker, is a Bulgarian, so he knew a little bit more about the whole Serbian situation, and and he told me about the importance of Kosovo for the Serbians, and how the US bombed Belgrade when there was no reason to. It was a civilian. It was it was to get the people to it was a terrorist attack, if you go by strictly what terrorism means. It was aimed at the civilian population. It wasn't a strategic target. So let me share the next article. So there's two posts that I want to share about the um, about um, some of these anti-white organizations that are hopefully going to come under fire from, because with all the new changes, for instance, Antifa is now designated as a terrorist organization, and the SPLC. This is a post from Ramsey Paul, where apparently the Southern Poverty SPLC, they on their website they designated Turning Point USA. They put them on a hate map. So this is typically the what they do, and people are being attacked because some of these crazy people go to the SPLC website and they see these people on the SPLC website, and some of them act on it. And so there is a link between the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the SPLC. So that's something that the Trump administration can follow up. And then the other one is I I made an archive of the ADL page because I don't know how long it's going to stay up. And this is basically an archive of it's currently live on their website. But I just made an archive in case they change the website. But it designates anti-Antifa signs as hate symbols. So by implication, it means they are supporting terrorism, because Antifa is now a terrorist organization. So if you make anti-terrorist symbols a hate symbol, it means that the terrorist organization is not a hate symbol. It's a good thing. So I definitely think they should take the ADL to task for this. But we'll see what happens, because of course the ADL and the SPLC are both famously Jewish. They say that they care about the well-being of Jewish people, although mostly they are just anti-white. So we'll see if the Trump administration is going to be manly enough to go and take them on. Biospirit.
Yeah, as it always is with any administration in the U.S., it remains to be seen what actually gets done. So there's always a lot of talk, a lot of promises, a lot of speculation, a lot of all of this BS, and then what usually happens is nothing. So I am heartened that for whatever reason they finally this time are designating the Antifa as a terrorist organization. But of course, that's not enough. It should be also be BLM. It should also be the SPLC or SLCB or whatever it is. And there are many others. And if they're not going to, as Ramsey Paul says, if they're not going to RICO these organizations and put them out of business, then again, it's just all more hot air. They're just talking to somehow try to please the base. And we're not going to be pleased by just a bunch of hot air this time. They've got to actually take action, put them out of business, and stop the anti-white rhetoric that is so all-encompassing in the media, and but because it's being paid for by all of these organizations. So these organizations are looked at as being credible and being something that people can cite in academia, in media, and and cite them as being true and being correct. And so the only way that you can counter that is to put them out of business and switch the narrative to something that is white positive, that is these organizations are evil, they always have been evil, and this is why. So unless we start really seeing the Pam Bondi's folks actually doing something, then it's just going to be performative.
Yeah. So a lot. There is some attention on this. So who knows what's going to happen? I mean, there is a lot of energy, and I hope that at least one of these organizations gets trouble. I think if they wanted to, there's enough to go after them, or at least to make them take that stuff off their websites at the minimum. Um, but this is something that that's now, we can use this to report content creators that are Antifa friendly, and get them deplatformed from the payment providers like they've been doing to us for 20-30 years now. So I recommend anyone, when you're seeing these characters like Hassan Piker, I mean, they are the big content creators, but there's 1,000 smaller ones who just do what they want, and we can roll them up now for the next, I don't know, year or 2 or 3. Let me just check the next one. Okay, so this is a post from James Collard, and it just puts to bed this notion that because there's some talk in the white sympathetic sphere that it's not that bad if we become a minority in Europe, because we will be the biggest minority. And groups like the Sheiks, they are vehemently opposed to other factions in the Arab group. Well, this is I put a video in the Jumbotron, and this is one of the Sheikh rap groups, and this is an anti-white video that they made. So it's fine to say that they fight amongst themselves in their countries, but when they come into Western civilization, they're not confused about the hierarchy of who must be killed first. And to think that is to think like King Louis XIV. These people like Mark Collette, who thinks the Sheiks are going to fight amongst them, he's like King Louis XIV. He doesn't see it. These people, when they are in Western civilization, what does he think? The Sheikh looks at a bunch of people, and he sees this is white people and this is Arabs. Okay, the white people is the threat for them. So and this video is just, I mean, this is disgusting anti-white video made by these sheiks that some of the people in the so-called right wing think maybe some allies for the multiracial coalition. Um, and Nick Fuentes, I've seen a post of him also where he says we can make a multiracial coalition. We must just be smart about it. But there is no multiracial coalition that will do anything for white well-being, because they will just get out of it what they get out, which is well-being for their people or ill-being for Jewish people, and then they'll whenever we don't have alignment, they go their own way and we're left out to dry. So there's nothing in it for us. And the fact that people still think that, um, you might it makes it, it means I almost forgive King Louis the 14th, because people today are still like that. By spirit.
Yeah, it's people like that saying things. They think once again that everyone is the same, that the biospiritual instincts are the same, and that we can trust people, the other peoples, other races, the way that we trust our own people, and that they will have the same kind of honor that our people have, or are tend to have. And that's just simply not true. And I think that that is also shown by what you were talking about before with um, the invasion of or the siege of Vienna, and how back then all of these promises were made. Oh yes, if you just you know stop fighting us, everything's going to be fine. And then they come in and they slaughter everybody. So to think that we can pair up with some other peoples, and that then they're going to be our best buddies, is absolute lunacy. Every country and every people um, operates in a way to have their well-being be their best well-being, except for white people, and we just have this idiotic uh, gullibility, and it's got to stop. We are not like these people. These people are not like us. We cannot treat them the same way that we treat our own people, and expect to get what we would get back from white people. It just doesn't happen. It's never happened, and it's never going to happen. So to me, this is like a setup by anti-whites to lull our people into thinking that, oh, this is the way out. Um, this is the savior. This is how we're going to get out of this predicament that we're in. When the only way that we're going to get out of the predicament is to become a people, and to look out for our own best interests, our own taking our own side on issues. And other than that, there's no way to win.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bio Spirit. Blue Flame.
Yeah, I mean there are meme pathogens around it as well. Here's one. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Says who? you know, it's one of those. It's one of these many meme pathogens that has us, yeah, just be blindly trusting, and it always backfires on us, and it's yeah. I mean, like there is something to be said though for the types who keep going on about these like you hear that like over the years, you've heard, you can, if you look back, there is so much that you can find on that. It's like all these types, like, oh, we're gonna be allies with this faction because they also hate that other faction that we also don't like. And and it's again centered around hating someone else, not loving your own. So yeah, that's usually that I find the most typical. The types who talk about stuff like this, and they think that they're going to use their allies, and then in the end get used themselves, um, most of the time, if not always. Uh, yeah, and in a certain sense, it's also a form of surrender altogether. Um, if you have true conviction and you come from a position of you love your own and you're confident in that, and you know the history of our people, then you realize is that we don't need anyone else. We seriously don't. Um, doesn't mean we can't work together with others, but that is a different story. That's not deluding yourself in that these people are absolutely necessary, or whatever. It's like no, no, absolutely not. It couldn't be more of a lie, a self deceit, and and a sign of having zero self respect, in my opinion. Um, yeah, it's it's farcical, and I've never really seen it being said by any serious people. Like they might think themselves to be serious, but again, it never goes anywhere. And there is something to be said for honor as well. I mean, you see this stuff with this desert conflict between, well, I guess everyone knows what I'm on about. You see this desert conflict, and what do you, for example, witness in the right wing? The right wing picks one faction, um, or an element of the right wing picks one faction, and then you have the left wing who picks the other one. It's like just absolutely nothing to do with the West, nothing to do with our people at all. These foreign conflicts. Um, yeah, it's just laughable if it wasn't so serious. And you see that, how shall one put it? I don't want to mention specific names because I'm not sure if that's, well, I'm not entirely certain if that's okay, but if I want to explain it, I might need to a little bit. Let's see if I can. Let's put it like this. So you have two opposing factions. Neither have anything to do with the West. They're at war with each other. One faction victimizes whites, and the other faction victimizes whites as well. But both at the same time want to use whites, want to put us in front of their war chariots to help get rid of one another. Basically, we are getting in there as war slaves to be cannon fodder, right? To be bullet meat. And then you have these absolute swine who, the ones who do pick sides between these two factions who are both anti-white. Actually, like the those who do that are dishonorable. They're absolutely dishonorable, because if it doesn't matter again how much you're opposed to someone, if you're gonna side with someone who has already, yeah, with someone else who has already done damage to your people in any capacity, it doesn't matter how little or how big, then you're speaking about some dishonorable swine altogether, in my opinion. And these are, yeah, just sick individuals who wouldn't know what honor is if it bit them in the backside. So there's something to be said for that as well. Um, honor is also, in as far as I see it, it's not about, yeah. Honor demands that you do not trying to word it proper. You use the tactics you need to win. What you do not do is work together with those who have hurt your kinsman. Let me put it, yeah, maybe just keep it like that. If you know that a certain faction has preyed on our children, for example, then you know that that door is closed off. If you know, if not for the principle of it, is because there's actual people, actual children, for example, that are now dead or traumatized for life because of, you know, this group and its practices. That is unacceptable. And the other group might have victimized us in some other way. Again, same story. You know, and let them do whatever they're going to do. You're looking at conflicts that are thousands of years old, and then for us to waste our time on that, it's unbelievable. Um, so yeah, I guess, you know, these types who do this sort of thing, they have no sense of honor. They do not care about us. They they're playing soldier. They're playing couch general, and it's absolutely abhorrent. And yeah, when white well-being returns to the West, I would be one. I would be very interested to see these types who were clamoring for that nonsense and holding us all back from achieving white well-being to be held accountable in one way or the other too. I don't know how, I don't know what, but something needs to be done about that too, because that sort of rot has no place in the West either. And I'll leave it there for now.
I agree that we don't need the permission of non-whites or of anti-whites to advocate for our well-being. We don't need them in a multiracial coalition to take back our destiny. But that said, the reason why we don't need them is because our target audience is any white person that's not anti-white, any white person with a positive white identity, which is, according to Ashley Jordina's research, about 50% of whites. So our target market for our message is 50% of the white population of the world. If you look at the target market for the people who want to form these multiracial coalitions, you can understand why, because they are anti-non-whites and their target market is a lot smaller. It's a lot less white people that are interested in hating other groups, and that's why their only solution is these multiracial coalitions, because they just, and the way they talk about our people, they slander them with these slurs, like goys and sheeple. They clearly don't think of normal white people with normal sensibilities as even human. They are just cattle, and stupid cattle. That's what they think of our people. Um, but we know that this is not how it works. The way it works is, anti-whiteism is a faith. It affects people across the intelligence spectrum. Very, very smart. I mean, some of the smartest people I know about are white people, because it's not about intelligence. It's about psychological abuse and programming. Um, so I did put another post far left of the jumbotron. This is something it's not an easy thing to discuss. It's an emotional thing, but it is something that we have to discuss. And this is, now this garbage human. I mean, I understand what IMES said about this account. I know this is a clickbait account, um, but the point that he raises here is relevant. So he basically asks, what's the difference between Austin Metcalf's cock dad, who forgave the the murderer of Austin Metcalf, and Erica Kirk forgiving the murderer of her husband. So just, I mean, obviously, the reason why we definitely felt the anti-whiteism in the dad's reaction is because it happened so quickly. His son was, his body was still warm. And the other thing is the racial component. We know that from experience and from all the other victims of Muslim terrorism, that the white families fall over themselves to run to the microphone to forgive the terrorists or the murderers. So this is a pattern of behavior that we recognized, which doesn't apply to Erica Kirk in the same way, because the murderer, although the murderer was still anti-white, the murderer happened to be a white male by spirit.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Is pointing out the difference racially of the two attackers, but they're both anti-white, and my reading of why some who condemned Metcalf's father, who are now praising what Erica is doing or did at the memorial, I would say is more to do with kind of groupthink, that you had her say what she said, and then this entire stadium erupted in applause, and then all of the pundits went, "Oh, isn't that lovely?" and clap, 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 clap. "Oh, yes, we all agree with her." And really, the only people that I saw that were contradictory to that were Jason and several other people in the X sphere who said the same thing, and were consistent, with both Metcalf and Erica Kirk. But the conservative platitudes for what she said, I just found absolutely revolting, because it makes no sense to forgive someone who has just murdered your husband. And to me, again, as awful of a situation as what she went through, has gone through, is going through, it seemed very performative to me. It seemed like she was putting on an act, and that she was saying what she was saying because either she felt that it was what she should be saying, or someone told her or helped her write that speech, or I don't know, but it did not feel genuine to me. And I look back at Metcalf's father when he said it, and I didn't feel like it was really genuine on his part either. It was just like he was saying something that those types of people who are poisoned with anti-whiteism, it just comes out that they just say it like on autopilot. And so I don't really know what else to say about that, other than that seems to me is the difference between the two, is that people don't want to be seen contradicting the pretty lady who just went through something terrible. And that might have something to do with also there are so many men who simply will not contradict a woman these days. So those are some of the things that I think might be going on.
Yes, there's definitely a feminization of Christianity. It is like you say, it's revolting. Christianity was masculine. Now it's total, yeah, it's disgusting. And I I think we must come out strong against this, because there's a notion that um, um, forgiveness means the consequences go away. Now, I listened to, so we know how consequences, we know why we punish these criminals. Um, First and foremost, we punish them because we care about our people. We're centering the well-being of our people because we're sending a message to other criminals that our lives are valuable. And if you harm us, we're going to harm you even more. And we know that works. How do we know that works? Because we had those Western norms and standards. If you roll back time, crime goes down. Why does it go down? Because the anti-whiteism gets less, there's more Western standards, less white erasure of your norms and standards. So we know that's how it works. Now, here is the other thing. I listened to a stream of Stefan Molyneux where he talks about this morality of Christianity. Easily half the call-ins assumed that Erica meant by forgiveness that the consequences go away. So empirically, I can say that no matter what she meant, this is how it was received. So when you speak to millions of people, and at least half of them are going to receive that message as we should forgive, meaning no consequences. That is an extremely harmful thing to Western civilization. This will kill innocent people, because that sentiment is going to carry through in the social morality. This It's going to affect the way laws are applied, the way people make decisions about criminals, um, and the people who make these. Um, uh, Erica has, when she has a big platform, she must know that she has that responsibility. She holds lives in her hand when she makes that. So when she says something like that, it's her responsibility to be explicit about what that means, because at least half the people are receiving it in a way that's very detrimental to the well-being of many thousands of people that are going to be harmed because of this. So this villainy signaling, um, the white erasure of our norms and standards, this is anti-white. This is anti-white. This is anti-Western. It degrades um, our legal system, the way we apply these principles. People are going to be harmed because of that. And the fact that she is also suffering on a personal level, that's separate from the fact that she has this huge platform and she says something like that. Now, Matt Walsh, he did come out and he said, he made that point that no, you can personally forgive him, but we still have to kill him. Which is the thing that she should have said. Now, um, I know in the interview with New York Times, basically what she said is she's going to get out of the way. She doesn't want to call for the death penalty. But the speech was not received like that. In the speech, it was received, I can tell you now, because of the call-ins that I listened to. That message was received by people as meaning, um, we should go easy on this murderer, on this assassin. So yeah, but it's good that they are. Some of the big accounts are saying that, but it's just for me. It was Stephen Miller. I think that Erica took a lot of oxygen out of what Stephen Miller is trying to do, and this was just it was unnecessary. Um, and it's like I felt that same revulsion, that biospirit that you speak about. It's so wrong. You can feel the wrongness of it. And the fact that the stadium erupted shows how sick our people is. It is and then but I think we shouldn't, we should be firm about this position that crime needs to be responded to, um, you know, with rigor. We need to be strong about our position, and it's a moral position, because um, the the consequences of what Erica is saying, the consequences are terrible for other Charlie Kirks in the future. Freedom, because it's a, even if you just give a little bit of freedom of responsibility, okay, people may argue that um, people are not going to interpret that as total freedom of responsibility, but even a little bit of freedom from responsibility is going to affect those numbers, the people who are committing those crimes. um, if we don't act very harshly against this Tyler character, um, it's going to incentivize. There's going to be some of those characters who's going to make that move, and people are going to be harmed who would not have been harmed if Erica was, because when Erica first came out strong, I thought, well, okay, she looks like she's she wants to fight. And then a few days later, we get um, this really the worst of the Christian reaction. It is absolutely the worst, and there's a lot of Christian people around me, and this is something that's painful to. It is because it's as if that's sort of a wall that it can't get through, um, and I think we must separate the different components of forgiveness, because there is the personal baggage which Jason spoke about. You must clean yourself of those negative feelings because it harms you. It does nothing to the other person. That hateful fantasies that you think about the one who harmed you, it's harming you. It does nothing to that person. So that's the baggage that you must get rid of. That's what forgiveness must mean. Then the consequences is totally independent. If someone scratches my car, um, and he apologizes for that, he still has to fix it. And then the third part is restoring the relationship. Now, if you didn't even have a relationship, there's no need for remorse or for because there's no relationship to restore. But even if there was, um, it depends on whether I believe your remorse. So, in other words, restoring the relationship is always going to be optional, because the one who was harmed must decide whether the remorse is real. So I think it helps if we just keep that separate, because they bundle it all together into forgiveness, which means all three happens at the same time, which is not the case. By spirit.
Um, One of the things I was thinking about when you were talking just then, Hans, is that also anti-whites use this against us all the time. And we see it in our comment sections all the time, where the anti-whites will go, oh, well, what about forgiving? Oh, well, uh, what about your Christian religion? Oh, what about, and they always use it against us to try and turn our compassion into harming ourselves, so that we will not prosecute people, so that we will agree to this insane no cash bail business, that we will let people out of prison, that we will reduce the amount that it takes to be a felony conviction when you are stealing stuff, or that you're going to forgive the person who does a home invasion robbery and steals all your stuff, and so you're just going to go, oh well, I'll just forgive, and then it's going to be okay. And it's never okay. So it is used very through a lot of deceit and ill will towards our people by anti-whites in order to continue the harm that they are inflicting on us. And it amazes me sometimes that our people don't seem to be able to see that. But also that Christianity has been so completely white erased that they're getting that information if they still go to church. They're getting that full bore from the pulpit also.
Yes, so this is another case where they anti-whites virtue trap us into values that they don't hold themselves. When have you ever seen an anti-white forgive someone? They ride you because they have a radar for people who care about white well-being. They have a radar for that, and they will never forgive that. Julia.
Yeah, so just on that topic, uh, that's one of the times I get to be like, well, I'm not Christian, I'm pagan, so that doesn't apply to me. But I do feel for our Christian brothers and sisters who suffer from how white erased Christianity is. But I wanted to finish my previous remark, which was I can understand a little bit how in the past, with everyone living in small rural areas and not traveling much, and so many different languages and lack of information and literacy rates, that it would be easier to get to pit um, whites against each other. So it's even more shocking that in modern times, when we have high literacy rates and instant information and uh, probably more accurate news than ever before via um, social media, and many people speaking English across Europe, and then, of course, throughout the Anglo sphere, that we have been that anti-whiteism has made even worse inroads, and we have even more division amongst us than ever before. So it goes to show the extreme power of the psychological warfare that we're undergoing, as well as the deep weakness we have to it, and how easily that greed and selfish individualism can be exploited. So, I mean, it really is just for me extra shocking to make that realization.
But Julia, I see the opposite. I see there's a lot of people, because we see the same thing happening in every country. So a lot of people are seeing that we are attacked in the same way, and this is causing people to come together. Where do you see division amongst different white cultures?
Um, I mean, for example, here in Germany, is so rare to encounter someone who is not um who in the US. It seems like there's a good number of reasonably based people, but based people in Germany are shockingly rare. Like this woman I met, this corset maker, is the first one I've ever met um, in person. So I know some based Germans, a couple of based Germans, like two online, but I've never met one in person before. And they all are perfectly fine with anti-whiteism, if not like active proponents. Um, so it's pretty bad here. Um, and to be fair, probably many of them are not on Twitter or really even Telegram. So they're just on like Facebook and Instagram, I guess. Um, but yeah, th- that that's basically what I mean. I do see that there is a change happening as more people are using Twitter. I do think that is helping us, and of course, the advocacy that work that we're doing and Trump's election, there is a rising racial consciousness. But the fact that it um, took so long, and that we've spent so many decades letting anti-whiteism get worse and worse, and letting ourselves be victimized so much, just still astounds me.
Yes, I understand now what you mean, because we had German tourists that came to visit us, and it was extraordinary how we are in South Africa, but they were so careful to speak. The man would look at his wife, and then she would give him permission to to go ahead and say what he wants to say. Um, incredibly careful to speak. They were on their tippy toes the whole time. They were like hunted animals. It was yeah. I mean, I Germany, I think, is probably one of the worst countries as far as that kind of abuse goes, censorship and that. Um, Julia, you wanted to respond quickly?
Yeah, so it definitely is, in my experience, by far the most demoralized country in the West, and for obvious reasons. Um, and yes, the media here is government owned and incredibly leftist. I don't know of a worse uh, media in the West. So with and then the schools, there's no homeschooling here, right? So uh with the schools controlled, the media controlled, and then the extra heavy anti-whiteism because of World War II, it's just insane. But that what you describe, the man deferring to his wife, and the um what being on eggshells all the time, that's how Germans are with each other here. That's just like the default mode. And yes, they all act like downtrodden and like hunched shoulders and like prey animals. They have lost all their spirit and fire. That's why I say to people, there's no men in Germany because I haven't encountered any. I mean, okay, maybe there's some like over the age of like 70 or something, but and maybe occasionally I notice some younger, like teens and early 20s who might have some promise. Um, but anywhere, near my own age, no, there's just no men. It, li- just, they, no, it's really wild.
New Hampshire Patriot.
Yes, sir. First off, I'd like to say hello, my brethren and my sisters. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Second of all, please excuse my voice. I was at a concert Saturday. Went and seen Stained. If you're not from the States and you've heard of them or haven't, look them up. They're amazing. Anyways, on to one of the topics up on the jumbotron regarding the people that had a disdain for the father of Austin Metcalf, but yet the same people that had a disdain for Austin Metcalf for forgiving his son's killer are reveling in Erica Kirk's forgiveness. I'm going to explain it as simple as I can, and I hope people would understand. There's a slight difference. Why do I say that? Well, it's very clear. Austin Metcalf's father was not a man of God. Austin Metcalf's father was not a white well-being example. Austin Metcalf's father was a piece of shit. Did not believe in God. He was a piece of shit. So of course he's gonna, have his, sympathy to coddle to, anything that can get him, his little spotlight. However, Erica Kirk, a very religious person, a symbol of whiteness and white well-being. When you have that kind of excellence in you, some of us have it, some of us don't. You have to be totally compactulated into the whole thing. She's with God. She's white. She's beautiful. Yeah, she is beautiful. That may or may not have played a factor. But I'm more in not only that, but you have a male and a female. Now, as males, I can speak for a male because I'm a male. When I see a female in pain, when I see a female crying, anger absorbs me. When I see a male in pain and in anger and crying, I have a little bit different of a point of view. This all has to do with biology and chemistry and excuse me, and the whole anatomy of differences between male and female. This is why there is no other gender than male and female. I cannot feel the same pain a female feels, and a female cannot feel the same pain emotionally, physically, mentally as a male. It's just it's not there. So that's my explanation for that. Julie, I really appreciate you bringing up the fact of your doubtness. If I understood you correctly, if not, I apologize. Of the men, right? I only surround myself with men. I don't surround myself with boys. And you as a female, it may be different, but that's what I would strive for. Look for the men. Because of society and everything else and fear of rejection, all kinds of other psychological issues. men are being timid for some reason. If you have to be the aggressor and you have to create this environment around you of like-minded individuals so you can feel safer, so you can walk through the streets without feeling fear, then maybe you need to not be the man, but be the aggressor, right? The final thing I wanted to mention was I work at I'm a I don't want to dox myself, but I'm a very high positional person in a very large retail establishment with over 1 million square foot of retail businesses. Today, I had to assist in hanging a flyer or a banner or an advertisement for a certain company. Again, I'm not going to post it. I really wanted to. I tried editing the photo to make it not have the company's name and everything into it. Anywho, let me pull the picture up just so I can be crystal clear about the white erasure. This is a banner and advertisement for a company, a very, very popular company. We might even see it on the news here soon. The father, and this is the key thing. This is the very key thing when we look at all these advertisements, right? This is what I want you guys to pay attention to. I've been paying attention to this for years. I'm a Gen Xer. I've been waiting for the next generation to just jump in. Gen Xers just didn't give a fuck, and that I'm sorry for that, but they've woken us up. We're on your side, millennials and on. We're on your side. Trust. We're not government. Anywho, the father is a well-dressed white man. The daughter, the mother / wife. Can anybody guess? A black female with this hair that they have, right? They have 2 children in this photo. One is a girl. She looks to be maybe slightly older, maybe slightly younger than the other. Red hair, white. Okay. There's a boy in the photo. Black hair, Korean or Asian descent. That is our white erasure. So if they keep continuing to push these advertisements on the television, and I've been noticing it at, like I said, I'm a Gen Xer. I've been noticing it every year. It's a different thing. When I was raising my children, I started watching it. I started noticing it on the shows they were watching, and I would divert them to something else because no, that's not. And lucky for me, and I thank God Almighty and praise Jesus that they came out the way I intended and hoped for. And I'll end on that.
Yes, that's a good insight about Erica. I mean, yes, and I think it would be wise to consider the fact that she is female and take that into consideration. It's just concerning to me that when I listened to the call-ins on Stefan Molyneux's show, that about half the call-ins took that as giving freedom of responsibility to the criminal, and this is why I say that um, um, we must be careful when we express grief in public like Erica did, because it has consequences. And people all through the West who listen to that speech, they are going to be slightly softer on crime. They are going to give slightly more freedom of responsibility. They are going to be influenced. And um, I know that's not what she intended, because in her New York Times interview, she said, look, I don't want it on I'm not going to call for the death penalty, but I also am not going to plead for his life. I'm going to get out of the way, let the government sort it out. And that's, to me, is the correct message from a female side. And it's like you said, there is a difference. and the difference came through in in the men that were around her. I mean, Stephen Miller was going hard. Trump said he's not going to forgive. Matt Walsh said, "No, we're still going to kill him. You can forgive him if you want, but we have to kill him." So most of the or a lot of the people still, I mean, have the correct position. Um, so yes, but it's a good insight that we have to consider where it comes from, and just the fact that she's a female and Austin Metcalf's dad, uh, it's not the same. You're correct. It's not the same. Um, then about the erasure, uh, a, a, a big part of this is because our people don't know how to defend against these mixed race propaganda without looking like the villain. And one thing that we have used with success is just to say to the people who are doing it that this doesn't this is white erasure, and we see it everywhere, and um, this is not the this is not the norm. It's not our norm. Our ideal is the white nuclear family that's necessary for the continuation of our people, but it's the only lifestyle that is fine to attack, and every other lifestyle is celebrated. Um, and you know, so this is anti-white. It's definitely anti-white, and you know it's anti-white because um, every other lifestyle is not only celebrated, it's incentivized. Because if you look at hiring and admissions, white males get a free pass if they choose a lifestyle other than the white nuclear family. If they let's say become trans, then suddenly all those restrictions to white males don't apply anymore. So it's not only that other lifestyles are celebrated, they are incentivized by various mechanisms that the regime use. So it's sort of the carrot and the stick. They do anything that they can to get our girls and our boys to opt out of the white nuclear family because they don't want Western civilization. I think Western civilization, um, they are seething with envy because our ancestors created the greatest civilization in the history of humankind, and they just want it gone. And that was a bit of a rant. Julia,
I think that they want Western civilization, or at least the fruits of it. The push button conveniences, the technology, the innovation, all of that, the wealth, the abundance. Absolutely, they want that. Um, I don't think they want our uh, high standards of honor and morality, but the material fruits of Western civilization they absolutely want. Uh, and they just think that if they can get the blueprints, then they can maintain it and reproduce it uh, once they've eradicated us. But that is not so, as we know. Um, so I'm not quite sure that they hate Western civilization uh, entirely. It's I think even the aspects which uh, they want to get rid of. It's not that they so much that they hate them; they just are indifferent to them and consider them worthless, i.e., um, standards of orderliness and cleanliness and things like that. They just don't see the value in them. I don't know that they actually hate them.
They hate the fact that our names are attached to those things. So they are fine with using our stuff, but they are going to white erase us from history and claim it for their own. Um, but while we are, um, I understand what you say. They want the benefits of Western civilization. They just don't want us to come with it. They want what we made, but they don't want us to come with the package deal. They see Western civilization as a house where they can kick the owners out, um, it's like a self-driving car. They can just get into the car because white men created systems with buttons that say land plane. So they think all they need to be able to do is push the button and the thing will work. Well, we here in South Africa, we have the embarrassing situation that it's been months now where they can't print license cards because the license card machine broke and they need to get a new one from overseas. So we can't have license cards now because white men created a machine with a button that says print license, and then the button stopped working. So now it's it's shoulders go up and the hands go limp, and there's nothing we can do because the button doesn't do what it's supposed to do. What can we do? um, and this is the entire Western civilization is going to degrade to what South Africa is experiencing now. I'm sorry to say, New Hampshire Patriot.
Yes, sir. Regarding that, yes, absolutely. So, if we can just take a short history lesson trip, we can anybody figure out which ethnical civilization that has created such divine art, such divine structure as the whites? None of us can, because we are the ones that are, and that is why we are the danger, because we are not only the creators, not in that sense. We create off of what God has given us, but we can also fight. We are also mentally and strong physically to fight these different environments that we've been in. We've never had to assimilate to others. We've always had to conquer. We've never had to assimilate. We've and then when we have to assimilate, we end up being conquered. So I think this is the stage that we need to turn it around.
Yes, I mean, if you look at um, how they villainize Western civilization for reaching out over the planet Earth and discovering new worlds, do they really think it's because we invented navigation? We invented um, um, these things that allowed us to to explore. If you gave the Maoris ships and nuclear weapons, we would all be dead. I have no confusion about that. Um, and how do I know that? Because in every place that we discovered, we only found one race. And in some of those places, there was evidence of previous races. But every place we came, we discovered one race. And guess what? After we tried to negotiate with them, they started killing us. We reacted. We conquered them. And after we conquered them, there were two races. Unlike what they did when they conquered the previous owners of their countries, their lands, they made sure that there's only one winner, one king of the hill, and everyone else is dead. This is not what we did. We invited them to participate. And what thanks do we get? zero thanks. In fact, we are white guilted for reaching out and bringing Western civilization to them, which, by the way, exploded their populations. Africa would be 1/100th of the population if it wasn't for us. So, yeah, bring my tiny violin next time you start whining. And by the way, listen when they whine, how quickly they flip to retribution fantasies. Then they forget that they're a victim. They start fantasizing about what they're going to do to us while they are whining. Julia.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to New Hampshire Patriot. So, some white people live in very small numbers in non-white countries, such as East Asia, in the Middle East, other places as well, I'm sure. Um, and they, uh, I assumed, assimilate to some extent. Um, but you're right that we do not do well. We, as a conquered people, and cannot be a slave people. And I think that's another reason why anti-white oligarchs want us gone, because we really we can't be slaves. I think that's a big part of what the whole COVID thing was about, was seeing, well, have we demoralized them enough to make them into slaves, and can we, uh, maybe get rid of the ones who can't be slaves, be enslaved. um, but yes, fundamentally, we are very much a people who have an adventurous spirit and uh, an independence that does cannot be quashed by other people. We have to be allowed to express our own bias spirits. I think everyone does, but we in particular are very lively in that regard.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you couldn't help but notice when you look at the footage of the COVID mandates, the mask mandate protests, and the vaccine protests, you couldn't help but notice how white those protests were, and the anti-whites had no trouble to identify that with all the anti-white slurs they used. I mean, I remember that one um, woman who complained that the problem, the vaccine resistance, comes from white people, and shouldn't we just let them die? I remember that one woman from the medical industry. But it's true. We are uh, we are there is a difference in the fact that we tend to think independently, and we tend to be more individualistic. We don't just listen to authority and just go and do what we're told, and this rubs those in power the wrong way. They want a compliant um, population that does what they say. Um, so this is what I have on the list. I'm going to put one extra thing in the jumbotron. It was just so sad to when I researched the Ottoman invasion. I It was very sad the way that the West just let the Ottomans invade the East, and in particularly Hungary was suffering under 100 years of occupation that they shouldn't have suffered. And I found this video of the Budapest airport made this video to, because Liszt is a famous composer, Hungarian, and the airport is named after him. And it's a beautiful, very Western video, um, um, of that, celebrates the open spaces. And I mean, I speak a lot about the Western biospirit and our affinity for natural light. And you'll see in this video that I shared in the Jumbotron, I just want to see if it's appearing. And if you play that video, you'll see this is there's something Western, very Western about that video, not only in the ballet and the music, but also in the way that everything is airy and light. And this is something that I believe is inside us. We love natural light. And this is why those Renaissance buildings are still in use today. It's the way that the architect designed the building to be full of natural light. So that is it for today. Thanks everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm going to um, do the outro. This has been a wonderful, interesting discussion. Oh, wait, let me not forget about final thoughts. Blue Flame,
Yeah, I'm not really sure I have anything in particular to close off with today. It's just been good, and it's always nice to revisit some of these historical events, but indeed to have the understanding of that it's never it's never accomplished with the one battle, and usually it is many years or even generations worth of conflict. Here there is a resolution, and I think that for us today, I think that is something for us today to take away with is that it is something that I have come across, at least, that so many people who they want to do something, but they don't want to devote their entire lives to it. And unfortunately, I think that is a very big component in why so much evil has always been done to our people for as long as some of these instances have lasted, because it's the walking away. It's like the attitude of, if I can't do it immediately, I'm out. That sort of attitude. Well, I mean, you're not going to be out. You're going to be living in the mire, right? Uh, but still, like, they, for whatever reason, they don't see it, or uh, they're like the child that doesn't want to acknowledge the injury on its leg or whatever. It just, rather than than have it quickly treated, stings a bit. It's a little annoying, but then it can finally at least heal. No, just keep it exposed, leave it in the open. Things get worse. It's hurting the entire time, anyways. Yeah, that sort of attitude is, I think, a big contributor to why so much suffering is happening also right now. Is so many people who think that um, how shall one put it? It's like they all think that I have my own life to live, and it's not that they're wrong in that, but so are your neighbors, so are your kinsmen, and they contribute to the same sort of environment that you put out. So, in a certain sense, it's like, as annoying as it might be, like, you may not be going to your yoga class, some evenings or whatever, or you may not finish I don't know, the the birdhouse you wanted to make. I'm just saying something, right? You can't finish your song today. It's going to be tomorrow. It gets all in your way. I know it. We all understand this. Um, but I mean, what is the point of creating anything if you do all of that and then the anti-whites burn it all away in the end, anyways, or come after your life? And that is something that needs to be understood. Is that if you let your neighbor be taken down, your neighbor has no reason to come help you either. And it would be right to leave you to it if you leave them to it. So a certain solidarity wouldn't be amiss. And yeah, for whatever reason, it's one of the. I mean, it can be figured out. I'm certain of that. Um, but yeah, it might require some study for those who want to look into that. And yeah, anyways, closing off, right? So for us to take away with this, yeah, it's not, we're not going to see the end result. We're not going to see a fully healed West. We simply do not have the years in life, at least as it stands now. Maybe that can change. We're never going to live long enough, our natural lives to see any of that, but we can make it better. And that will happen in our lifetimes when enough of us commit to it. And that has to be the goal. You improve on your environment, and you know what? With a bit of luck, there will be a whole lot of misery that will never need to happen, and it will make life a lot more bearable than it is right now. And that is in and of itself, it is a good thing, and it is worth pursuing, to invest some energy into that. And as far as spirituality goes, like I've said it before, I'm not a Christian either, but I do think it's like, let me put it like this before I close it off. Should there be divine judgment post mortem when you die? You go to whatever, you go where you want to go, maybe even, and you fall under the judgment of whichever deity or deities you think are going to look at you. Well, the way I see it is that you will be able to say, if you've come, even in these dangerous times, you stood by your people and you did right by your people. That is something to brag about. That is something you can puff your chest up about to such deities. And if they indeed are goodly, then they will recognize that. You're going to get a very cushy place, whatever it is, if there is something like divine reward in that sense. But you will at the very least be able to look whatever is judging you right in the eyes and say, I did the goddamn right thing. At great or little, whatever, I did it at personal cost. Where so many others said, stuck up their middle finger and walked away and let us, solve the mess. And I think that goes for all, whichever religion or whatever you are. And that's, if for nothing else, that is definitely worth the pursuit, I would say. And with that said, bid you all a good day. We're gonna win this in the long run. You just have to be willing to stick it out. And well, I'm certain everyone here is of that mind. So with that said, enjoy the rest of your day or evening, and talk soon. Bye bye.
New Hampshire Patriot.
Yes, I 100% believe in his and I think it was biospirit. Uh, maybe. Anyway, so we all need to just get more involved in not just our community but our neighbors, and everything else, and just show what goodness looks like. And I've noticed a small increase. I've been in this fight, like I said. I'm a Gen Xer. I helped get several laws passed in the state of New Hampshire. I know several reps. I've been to countless rallies, countless protests, Trump trains, whatever trains. Even during COVID, when we were doing a protest on the COVID vaccine, because of the people were just dying. I think we just need to just get more involved and show what white well-being is. Unfortunately, we've been inundated with politicians that want to create this divisiveness between not just races, classes, and different other ways, factions to get us to fight each other. and not totally focus on what the true enemy is. And I'll end on that.
Thanks, New Hampshire Patriot. Um, mm, Fire Spirit.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for posting the ad for the Budapest airport. I was looking at that and listening to it while others were speaking, and it was beautiful. And I'm all set to go to Budapest now. So that was very white positive and very much of our biospirit. So thank you for having that be the last thing that we looked at and saw today.
This was something that CKO started doing. And this is to put something beautiful at the end, just to take the edge off all the doom and gloom. um, Not that it was all doom and gloom, but anyway. Thank you, everyone. This has been the Tuesday edition of the Shade Tree White Wellbeing No White Guilt Space. We meet here daily at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on X. We practice the Go Free lexicon and concepts as developed by Jason Kuhner, Mr. No White Guilt himself. You can find him here on X as No White Guilt NWG, elsewhere as simply No White Guilt, and on the web at nowhiteguilt.org. I want to thank each and every one of the speakers and all of you who showed up to listen. You all make the space possible by bringing your diverse skills and intelligence here for all of us to share. Without all of your participation as speakers or listeners, it would just be my handsome self. Thanks again. I truly appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. I love you all and hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Are you noticing changes in our country you find troubling? Do you feel unsafe and at a loss to remedy these fundamental shifts? Have you found the book Go Free by Jason Kuhner? The Go Free method provides excellent meme curatives and specific language skills to overcome the anti-white psychological warfare being waged against us across the West. Go Free, a guide to aligning with the archetype of Western kind by Jason Kuhner, available on Amazon.
Our children are priceless, and we would do anything to protect them. So why aren't you using Go Free to protect them from the most harmful ideas? Decades in the making, Go Free is a simple yet brilliant practice designed to free us from destructive socio-political ideas. As words are the tools with which we think, Go Free promotes precise, simple, and targeted language to counteract psychological warfare. When you go free of the system's control over your word choice, you liberate your thinking. As you grow, you can empower others. And the most important thing you can do is inoculate our children against the ideas that are meant to harm them.